Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Well, changes to funding for children with disabilities have been met with welcome from some families and worry from others. Families of children with autism worry their funding may be taken away. Meanwhile, those living with other complex needs say they will now be able to access resources. We're going to hear from different advocacy groups. We'll also speak to the minister responsible during the show, and we're taking your calls. How will changes to funding for children with disabilities and complex needs affect your family? I'm Michelle Elliott. Welcome to BC Today. You can call us now. Our number is 604-669-3733. That's 604-669-3733. You can also dial 1-800-825-5950 or just hit pound 690 on your cell phone. We're also taking your emails, bctoday@cbc.ca, and your comments on our TikTok Live. And the Minister for Children and Family Development will join us coming up at 12:15. It has been just over 2 weeks since the province announced changes to the funding model for children and youth with disabilities. The reaction is mixed. The changes will replace the existing autism funding program with 2 new programs to support children with many types of disabilities. Now, those new programs are based on level of need and on income. Some families are elated they will get financial support for the first time, but it also means that families with children that have certain types of autism could lose thousands of dollars a year. Joining me now, first up in this program, is Suzanne Perreault. She's Executive Director of Autism B.C. Good afternoon. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for hosting us.
Suzanne, first, I'd like to get my terminology right here. I know your organization has a language guide that advises the preferred term is autistic and autistic person, so I will use that. What will these changes mean then for families with autistic children?
Well, for the autistic community in its entirety, we're looking at a breakdown of how funding will be approached. At the end of next March, we're looking at the autism funding unit being concluded in that program, which is going to have a strong impact on what we're looking at. As we understand, approximately 20% of children in community in the province that are going to be moved, if they are able to do so, into community-driven services. And that is where the big conversation is circling around, because that 20% of the children are what the medical model would consider a low support need individual. And that low support need person is a high masker and a person that runs with high anxiety and a number of co-occurring conditions. And so the complexities around the misunderstanding what low support needs is leaving children potentially at risk without support in its entirety.
I want to make sure that everyone understands, whether they're tied to the autistic community or not, understands what the changes are and the impact. So when you say low support needs, this program, rather than being tied to a diagnosis of autism, will be based on need. And given that there is a spectrum, that autism is a spectrum, that there may be children who will be deemed as needing low support. Is that right? And then thus will not be getting a similar level of support as they would now?
Exactly. So, and the challenges with the conversation is when we look at the spectrum, and autistic people are labeled as either more severe or less, and may be denied agency on the grounds of incapacity, and those labeled as less support needs may be denied support on the ground of presumed competence. So in both cases, the classification is determining how the person is treated before they're being entered into as an individual. And what we're seeing is, again, the label is preceding the relationship, and that label about functional needs is determining in a moment, in a controlled environment, what kind of support that child might benefit from, which are not always stable assessments, unfortunately, because as an autistic child is engaging in any kind of assessments, their environment greatly predicts how they're going to respond. And so what that means is certain environments, a child will either heavily masked and not even a child, because autism is a lifespan diagnosis, and we all do this. So it depends on how heavily we mask and control, self-control, and then where does those shutdowns and meltdowns occur afterwards, and what does support actually need to be to support that person going through that experience in its entirety. In this case, we're talking children.
What is the change that concerns you the most?
When we look at the rollout guide that the ministry presented to community, we have a persona, it's called Persona 4, and it's OLI. So the OLI persona is a person, and I'm just going to pull the guide forward for myself. You know, we open up the guide, and the preamble for the case study is, he is autistic, highly verbal, does not have an intellectual disability. He struggles significantly in social interactions, requires intensive social development skills. He also is ADHD and requires modifications at home, school, and all environments to ensure he remains self-regulated.
This
And
is
then
an
it presents,
example. This is an example?
yeah, this is their example.
Okay.
And so when we look at the fact that this child is significantly struggling in social interactions and has intensive social skill development needs and needs requirements of modifications at home and at school, what we know is this child really wrestles heavily. Just by looking at that, I can go, this child's wrestling heavily with the ability of self-regulation, because there's a high anxiety component that's underlying. There might be what's called a PDA profile, a pervasive development demand for autonomy, and that's the medical model name. And what happens in that child, when they're not supported well, and the risk is that we're concerned about when that child's not supported well, because they struggle with transition, and they struggle with new environments, they struggle with new people, new engagements, because their nervous system is on fire. Their anxiety goes high, and we all know anxiety lies to us, and it creates narratives in our minds and our hearts about safety. And so these children become high risk factors for what's called elopement, children who run away out of classrooms or from their homes, in random situations. It's not predictable. These children are children who can grow into youth, which is where I become more concerned when the front loading isn't occurring for families. As our children are moving towards their next stage of development into youth, and we're all youth, all of us have struggled going into our youth with anxiety and who are we, how do we fit in. This becomes a higher aggravated experience, predominantly because of that level of awareness of self and not awareness, that lack of awareness, and where other co-occurring conditions get amplified, like ADHD, again, anxiety now, rejection sensitivity dysphoria, imposter syndrome. These kind of things can lead to self-isolation, school refusal, not being able to leave the house, suicidal ideation, self-injurious behavior, self-medicating, loss of life, school to prison pipeline, inability to enter the workforce as adults. So this is a long-term implication, this conversation, even though we look at the number of people are, we're here, well, it's 20%, and it's community-driven services. Now I got to go back down to that conversation, those community-driven services, do they have the staff to support the amount of children that are going to come in? Do they have the staff to support both models of community, medical model, and social model? So there's a lot of nuances going on right now.
Right. And so that's because as part of these changes, there will be these community services that will be available for access. But you're saying how well will these meet the needs? We will be speaking with the minister in just a couple of moments here. And this was, these changes were introduced or proposed back in 2021 and then reversed the year after. What is your question for the Minister of Children and Families?
When can we begin engaging in conversations of reevaluating the framework that the OLI persona is looking at, to ensure that stability of funding and services is there? There's no guarantee. We don't have a framework. We don't have a framework guide that says here's the clear access pathway to services. We don't have a clear transition guide that says for our service providers, this is how they can enter in, or do they enter in. We don't have a regional staff planning, meaning we don't know in every region of the province what's going to happen in that mapping. And our interior and northern communities are greatest at risk right now in terms of that inequity that is being created as a byproduct of this. So the question is when and how can we start looking at reevaluating the decision around this portion of the rollout? Because the larger portion of the rollout is it's really kind of exciting, actually, because you're seeing children who weren't previously getting supports, and all children should have supports regardless of their diagnosis. That should be always available. But we shouldn't create a situation. We should be looking at a situation where equity means instability, and that's where we're at right now. There's instability that has occurred for that cohort of families where they fit into this financial bracket, whether they apply, they're eligible for the DTC and having that autism. Thank you. Yes, I try to avoid the acronyms. The disability tax credit, and where that cutoff comes next March. So the big question is around re-evaluating and entering into discussions around that conversation.
It's really good to speak with you, and it is a very complex story and rollout and system as well. So thank you very much for describing and explaining it from your perspective. We will speak with the minister and we'll put that question to her. Thank you for your time, Suzanne.
Thank you kindly for lifting up the story. We appreciate it.
Suzanne Perreault is Executive Director of Autism B.C. We do have a call here right now from Cheryl in Port Coquitlam as we ask you, how will changes to funding for children with disabilities affect your family? Again, 604-669-3733, 1-800-825-5950. I know the minister is waiting on the line. Let me just go quickly to Cheryl in Port Coquitlam. Hi, Cheryl. What do these changes mean for you?
Hi. Well, for me, the changes are a little too late. My son is now 19, so his autism funding is done. He was born with Down syndrome, but I didn't have any coverage until, I didn't get any help once he hit school and everything until I got an autism diagnosis. So that it made me happy, but yet made me sad, because I'm thinking all of the kids out there that don't qualify, that don't get any help, that I really think, across the board, what makes kids with autism, needing more help or finding kids that need Down syndrome or any other difficulty that causes them stress and stuff going through school. So that's part of it. But my other thing is that this is all fine and dandy. My son is now 19. He's nonverbal. Now what? What help is there for him? He's got no longer autism funding. So we're left with he doesn't really fit in adult programming. He's still a youth. But, where does that, where's that gap? Where's that help between, 18 and, whatever?
Once you've aged out,
daughter also, yeah, exactly. And my daughter also has another thing that's triple X, which there's all kinds of memory, all kinds of issues with that. But how does she get help? Do you know what I mean? I think parents should be able to have some sort of funding, when their kids do have some difficulties, they have diagnosis, whatever it may be. And, we should be able to figure out best use of the money for them. Do you know what I mean? From what we could go, lots are going to get left out of it. I just think that it should be funding and help right across the board for all kids that have disabilities.
Cheryl, I really appreciate hearing from you. Yeah, thank you so much for the call.
Thank you.
All the best to you and your family. That's Cheryl in Port Coquitlam. 20 minutes past 12 o'clock now. You're with BC Today. We are discussing changes to the funding model for children with disabilities and complex care needs here in BC, announced earlier this month and coming in April. Well, joining me now is the Minister of Children and Families, Jodie Wickens. Minister, good afternoon. I know you've been busy in the legislature. Thank you for stepping out to take our call.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
It's very good to speak with you. I think you've heard some of the conversation here. I want to know about these changes. These are echoes of what were proposed back in 2021. It received backlash then and were reversed by Premier David Eby in 2022. Why are you implementing these changes now?
That's a really good question. So first and foremost, I just want to say that anytime we do a redesign or we make changes to a system, I understand that there's going to be, concerns and questions, particularly when it comes to our children. I was a parent and an advocate and a service provider in 2022, and I can tell you that this is much different than what was being proposed then. I'm a mom. I happen to be a mom of a child with autism and an aunt of a child with very significant and complex needs, and I have worked with hundreds of families in the province delivering programs and services as a therapist and also as delivering services. And so for many years, I knew the challenges in the system. We also, just before I came into this role, spent over $4 million on engagement with varying groups, marginalized groups, Indigenous groups, a wide range of disability groups, including the autism community, who all gave us feedback on what wasn't working in our system and what really needed to change. And so there was really some main things that we were told during that engagement that was very clear. The first was that parents wanted to see investments into programs and services. There hasn't been investments into services for children and youth with disabilities in decades. Second, families and service providers and experts told us they wanted to see funding and services aligned with functional need and not a singular diagnosis alone. There is no one-size-fits-all approach to supporting children. And third, families wanted easier access and better navigation. And so the announcement on February 10th of net new $475 million above and beyond what we are currently spending to provide two different funding streams and investments in community-based services was really to respond to all of that feedback. We are taking a phased approach. These changes aren't happening tomorrow. We will be working with the community, parents and service providers over the next year to make these changes. This is really a step in the right direction. It's about making programs and services that are fairer and really much stronger going into the future.
When you talk about functional need, I think that was quite a large part of what Suzanne Perreault was talking about, which is that how do you assess that when we know, and she gave examples of children with autistic children who mask. They may seem like they are need less support and need less resources when in fact there are other, anxieties and other issues that may come up. So how will you assess what the functional need is? And are you going to be missing some kids based on those assessments?
And that's a really good question too. There's a saying in the autism community, when you've met one child with autism, you've met one child with autism. There's really no two children that are the same. And so we will be working over the next year with clinical experts to create guidelines for those assessments. And we'll also make sure we share that information with families. The federal program already has set criteria for functional need, and that's been used for decades. And so for disability supplement, those criteria are already in place, and a health professional just has to make and fill out that paperwork. And we're working to make sure that families and service providers know how to access providers that can fill out those pieces of paperwork. But I hear the concern, and we'll make sure that we have all of the information necessary for families. It's important to note that there are some families for whom their household income is over $200,000 a year, who have children that don't meet the federal criteria, who may see a reduction in their direct funding. But having a different level or a low level of an autism diagnosis does not automatically exclude any child. We will be, these things will be reviewed by clinical experts, and they'll include considerations like behavioral and mental health needs, any health-related diagnosis that impacts needs, and again, the ability of the child to independently perform activities of daily living across environments. The other thing I would just add is that 1/3 of children who are currently receiving autism funding will receive more direct funding under our new programs. For a long time, families have told us that they have children with significant needs, and our old system wasn't working for them. And so the new system is a tailored approach to make sure that we look at a child's needs in addition to the family circumstance.
You touched there on supports. I want to go back to something that Suzanne Perot also talked about, which is these community-based supports, right? And her question was, how will especially rural communities be served? Where are we at with this promise of community supports that will be accessible even without a diagnosis? What about rural parts of the province?
It's a really good question. I've had the opportunity over the last year as minister to travel to rural and remote communities. I was up in Prince Rupert and Terrace. I'm going up to Prince George in a couple of weeks. There are real challenges in rural communities and challenges that impact Indigenous communities particularly. That's why, as a part of this, we're making an $80 million investment into community-based services, looking at a coordinated interdisciplinary model of service. We've learned a lot from our child development centers that serve various communities across our province. They are well-established service providers that have clinical experts that work in community. Okay. And so we will be working with those service providers to ensure that we're expanding services in a way that meets the needs of all children and youth in the province.
My guest is Jodie Wickens, Minister of Children and Families in BC. And just one last question here. We heard, again, from our previous guests, we hear from different groups on this as well, right? The FASD Support Society of BC said that they welcome this change, that it will mean increased access for children with fetal alcohol syndrome. And so, given the differing reactions and how polarizing this may be becoming, how do you feel about that? Are these changes essentially now pitting different groups of advocates and parents against each other?
I really appreciate the question. I have really spent my entire career advocating and supporting and fighting for children and families. And changes are hard to make when there are systems in place that people are used to. Overwhelmingly, we have been told over the years that our old system was not working. And so I am committed to ensuring that we work step by step with families and experts, and let experts lead the way in what the right way is to deliver these services in our province. I believe it's the right thing to do, and I believe it will build a stronger system well into the future for children. And I'm willing to meet with community providers, with associations, and again, we will be meeting with leading doctors and pediatricians to ensure that we get this right as we move forward.
Minister Wickens, thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Jodie Wickens is Minister of Children and Families. And the full quote from the FASD Support Society of BC says, this announcement will bring a new inclusive era of investing in families and children, brings hope to many families in British Columbia. And the statement from Bonnie McBride, who's executive director, also says families accessing services currently will be experiencing concern around their future services. We are committed to supporting the transition, engaging with partners and families to ensure individual needs are met and accounted for. Okay, it is now 12:30. We're going to continue this conversation around changes coming to how funding is distributed for children and families who have disabilities in their lives. And some welcome the changes, and others are concerned about loss of that individualized funding that they have been allotted due to diagnosis of autism. And so the concern there around autism funding specifically being rolled into new streams of funding for children with disabilities. Lots of reaction to this. We've just heard from Autism B.C. We heard from the minister. Coming up in our next half hour, we'll speak with Down Syndrome B.C. Continue to take your calls on this as well. Again, it's 604-669-3733. How will changes to funding for children with disabilities affect you? 1-800-825-5950 or just hit pound 690. More on this topic coming up after the CBC News Update. And here's Rob Zimmerman.
Good afternoon. The National Pharmacare program will start here in BC on Sunday, giving people free access to a variety of diabetes medications and menopausal hormone therapies. Health Minister Jodie Osborne says the changes will benefit more than 500,000 residents who are living with diabetes and about 160,000 people with menopausal symptoms. The provincial government says the minimum wage in BC is scheduled to increase to $18.25 an hour June 1st. The increase is based on the average inflation rate. The current minimum wage is $17.85. And after a stiff opposition, the city of Burnaby has backed away from a supportive housing proposal planned for the 5800 block of Imperial Street. It would have seen the construction of 40 supportive homes and 10 complex care units. Burnaby Mayor Mike Hurley says more supportive housing is needed, but adds it needs to be in the right location. And now the forecast. Snowfall warnings are in effect for several areas, including the Peace, the Coquihalla Highway, and the Trans-Canada between Rogers Pass and Eagle Pass. On the north coast, flurries or showers this afternoon with a high of 1. In the central interior, mainly cloudy with a high of 4 degrees. Highs up to 9 with a few showers in sections of the Kootenays. In the southern interior, cloudy with a high of 10. And for Metro Vancouver, Greater Victoria, and the Fraser Valley, a chance of showers this afternoon. Sunshine in some areas with highs around 11. That's your CBC News Update from Vancouver.
Thank you very much, Rob. It's Robert Zimmerman in the CBC Vancouver newsroom. Welcome back. You're with BC Today here on CBC. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Michelle Elliott, and this hour we are discussing changes to funding for children with disabilities and developmental needs in BC. This was announced February 10th. Now, over the next 3 years, $475 million will go toward a new disability benefit and a disability supplement. There will also be community-based services. Now, the funding will be based on needs rather than diagnosis. And parents of autistic children who have had access to individualized autism funding are worried about the loss of that funding. But as we've heard, advocates for families living with other disabilities say this actually expands their access, and reaction is mixed. As I mentioned earlier, Bonnie McBride is Executive Director of Inspire Kids, the FASD Support Society of BC, and she says this is a step forward.
And that's where we're going to see the most specific, or the biggest impact in terms of services. So both because you required a diagnosis regardless for many of the services we have in BC outside of Ministry of Health, and certainly after your child was 6 in order to receive any service. And that included the children with autism. Without the autism diagnosis, which we know can take many, many years to receive after you've been identified as needing one, all children will be able to access some level of support based on their needs. And children who have been intentionally unable to access programming because they did not have an autism diagnosis will now be able to access equitable service.
More of your calls coming up here on BC Today. We are taking your calls on changes to funding for children and youth with disabilities. How will they affect your family? Our number is now 604-669-3733, 604-669-3733, or 1-800-825-5950. You can just hit pound 690 on your phone or email bctoday@cbc.ca. You can comment on our TikTok live as well. Some comments here on TikTok. Archangel writes, why not work with the experts before announcing the program? Seems a bit backwards. Kim wrote us from Vernon. The ministry says they will be investing in more community-based programs. What strategies will MCFD implement to staff these expanded community resources, especially in rural communities? Thank you very much for your email. That's Kim writing us from Vernon. Again, it's bctoday@cbc.ca. You can send us your thoughts. Joining me now is Tamara Taggart, president of Down Syndrome B.C. Tamara, good afternoon to you. Thanks for joining us.
Hello.
What will this new funding model mean for children with Down syndrome?
I think it's life-changing, to be honest with you. It is something that families who love someone with Down syndrome have been advocating for generations. And this is life-altering for sure.
In what way? What has it been like until now, and what will this enable?
Well, people with Down syndrome in British Columbia don't receive any funding support. They never have. There are, of course, kids with Down syndrome who also have a diagnosis of autism, and therefore they were able to access funding because of that autism diagnosis. But just with, a diagnosis of Down syndrome, which we all know you're diagnosed at birth, sometimes before birth. And, we know everything there is to know about Down syndrome. We know what we need to do to support somebody to be the best that they can be with speech therapy, occupational therapy, food therapy, whatever it may be. But a lot of times those services were not available because there were no experts. And there was no funding available. So families have had to, quit work to stay home or, live quite basically to be able to afford some of the services that they need. And most families have gone without.
As we mentioned in our previous conversations, these proposed changes were first brought up in 2021 and then reversed in 2022. Are you confident that they will move forward based on what you were hearing?
I hope they move forward. I mean, it's, there's a petition going around, which I'm sure you know, and the petition is quite worrisome because the petition sort of says, hey, stop what you're doing and go back to the way things were. That's my interpretation of it. And it seems to be what a lot of parents are saying online. And I find that quite scary because, so many people, so many children, right, have gone without funding or support or getting the services they need because they haven't had the same access as families who have a child with autism. And so this is a good thing, expanding these services. But the petition that I've seen going around is I find it worrisome. If people are asking for things to stop, do you mean you want it to stop, go back the way it is, and leave out tens of thousands of kids?
I suppose part of it is because of that concern around individual funding that has been available for diagnoses of autism.
The autism has received funding for the last 22 years, and it was a group of parents who advocated for that, went to court, and made it happen. And it was, again, life-altering. Mm-hmm. But over those 22 years, there's a lot of talk about needs-based. Well, I think that the needs of a child who is, profoundly disabled are very different than somebody whose needs are much less, right? And so I don't think anybody's, there's a lot of talk out there too of, I've had it said to me online, you're taking away from one set of kids to give to another. Mm-hmm. And that's not true. I would never advocate for that. That is not who I am. And I don't think the minister said that. I just caught the end of her interview with you. But I have never been told. I've been told that this is new money and nobody is taking anything from one group of kids to give to another. But that seems to be the narrative coming from some. And it's sort of, I mean, that's what I'm getting told from parents who seem worried.
As a disability advocate yourself, how do you feel about that kind of division, it sounds like, right? In terms of the reactions from various advocate communities. And is this ending up, and as you say, not from yourself, but is this change ending up pitting groups against each other?
So I really hate when people use the term pitting disability against each other because it's not true. I'm not pitting anybody against anybody. And I want everybody to remember, not very long ago, 2021, as you just mentioned, the government said that they were going to end all autism funding and go out to these family hubs. And the autism community spoke out and spoke out loudly. And every other disability group that I can think of joined them, including Down Syndrome B.C. We joined them and said that you can't stop this funding. This is not the way to go here. They were going to stop all funding. And that's not the case. This is a very different situation. What they've recently announced, there's almost $500 million of new money being introduced into this expanded system. It's very different than 2021. But the important thing to remember is in 2021, we all came together to support the autism community in stopping what was happening at a government level of taking that away and introducing these family hubs. We all stood together. And I mean, I went to all the meetings and had lots of meetings with people about this. And so now all of a sudden something's changed. And a lot of the voices that I'm hearing now online, and I can only talk about, social media because they're voices I've never heard before from, private providers and people who are saying to me and other advocates who've been doing this for decades, where have you been this whole time? And don't, all kids mean all kids to you? And it's just like, whoa, what is happening here? I don't know anybody who's pitting anybody against anybody.
And it does sound
really
like that's kind of an online discourse that's happening. I will make clear that when I spoke with Suzanne Perreault, the executive director of Autism B.C. in our last half hour, she did say, the exciting part of this is expanding support for all children. And that was how she concluded her comment. So to make that clear, that was the comment from Autism B.C.
Yes. And Suzanne, I know very well. I respect Suzanne so much. And her and I have advocated together on many things. She was at the announcement. We gave each other a big hug. And so, Suzanne knows what's happening online too. And it's really, there's some really painful stuff happening there where people who are excited, like Bonnie was speaking about the FASD community and, the Down syndrome community. There are parents that were phoning me crying, just relief and what this means for our community and our children. This will not affect my family in any way, shape, or form. My son is 18 years old now, but I am thrilled for, the child with Down syndrome who's born today, who will now receive the support that they need to thrive. Because, as you know, with Down syndrome, we know everything there is to know. You can go to the bookstore and get a book and read about anything you want. There are no surprises. And we know what our kids need to thrive.
I'm a parent as well.
Right? I know you are.
Tamara Taggart joining me, president of Down Syndrome B.C. Let's get some calls in here as well as we ask you, how will these changes to funding for children and youth with disabilities affect your family? You can give us a call, 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. Again, 604-669-3733. Toby is in Kamloops. Thanks so much for holding on, Toby. And you're an occupational therapist working there, hey?
Yes, I work at a child development center with school-age children primarily. And the thing I wanted to bring up, because I have participated in pretty much all the information gathering and consultation procedures in the last years, but what isn't spoken about that I can see is that for health authorities, they have funds, or you could look at it as a carrot to attract occupational therapists, physios, or speech language pathologists to rural locations or hard-to-fill positions in health authorities. But child development centers are funded by MCFD, and those benefits are not extended to MCFD-funded contracts. And I think part of the process of the planning for this is to extend and get more therapists or therapy aides even, and they say they'll attract people to rural and remote communities and hard-to-fill positions, but there's no sign-on bonuses, there's no coverage for travel or things like that.
Okay, so how will they fill the positions that will be needed for those community-based programs, especially in the interior?
That's a really good point.
Because if they're going to expand them already, right now we're short.
Right. Yeah.
They need to strengthen the workforce.
Go ahead, Tamara.
You know, they always need to strengthen the workforce. You have to strengthen exactly what Toby just said, right? You can have all the funding in the world, but if you need occupational therapy and it's not available in the area in which you live, then you can't have it. And that's not acceptable. Toby makes a really, really good point, because where is the line between health and, I mean, what Toby does, occupational therapy, I would definitely put in the health category, because, I mean, we need occupational therapists. They are in high demand.
It's a question that I'm sure will be part of the conversation, is filling those positions and the staffing that will be needed. Cheryl is up next now in the North Okanagan. Hi, Cheryl. Welcome.
Hi.
Yes. What are your thoughts
Thanks
on?
for having this conversation, by the way.
Yes.
It's really nice to see. I'm a parent of a special needs individual, Down syndrome, and not diagnosed, because they wouldn't diagnose him autism because they figured he was severe to moderate, so that was already enough. He didn't need another diagnosis, and that's kind of, I'm trying not to say, what am I trying to say? Like, it took away from his entire youth because he didn't have that diagnosis, and people are complaining that they may lose funding that they've had access to, like you said, for the last 22 years. And I can compassion with that, but at the same time, there's 22 years of a bunch of children that went without, and we're struggling to survive. Like you said, there's a difference. There's definitely an income caste difference. If you have money and you can provide for your kids, then they have higher chances to excel and finish triathlons and get a job and be a model. But meanwhile, people who can't afford those luxuries or those privileges go without. And I'm
100%.
Thank you. Because I'm happy to hear that they're changing it based on need-based and not based on diagnosis. Personally, I agree that there is issue with assessment and how the system needs to change as well. But if they don't start supporting all of them now, me on the other side of this now, I have an adult who doesn't have a quality of life because he missed out his entire childhood, right, and adolescence, and to this day still needs the very same support, but they're not accessible anymore. So awesome that they're taking care of the kids, but they've also left the adults in the lurch for how long now? My son doesn't.
Don't worry,
learning.
that's my next project. Don't worry about that.
Well, you have an outlet here if you want to get my number, because 32 years I've been taking care of him.
Yeah.
And I am, like you said, basic income to say it politely, and that's even, being generous, I think.
Okay.
We are surviving on about $3,000 a month, and I'm supposed to pay for services and give Brandon these things during the day, and let's not even talk about caregivers. Now, if I'm paying for somebody for my son, I have to pay $20 to $30 an hour. Meanwhile, I don't get any support.
Yeah.
And
you know what, Cheryl, thank you so much. I do have some other callers waiting on the line as well. I really appreciate hearing from you. And you go to exactly that, the lack of diagnosis that your son had when it comes to autism. And, we heard earlier as well from another parent whose child had aged out. What does this mean for adults as well? Cheryl, thank you so much for the call from the North Okanagan. Tamara, and as you said, that's your next project, is looking at adults as well.
Yeah.
Very good to speak with you. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you.
Tamara Taggart is president of Down Syndrome B.C. Continue to take your calls on this, asking you, how will changes to funding for children with disabilities affect you? Some more calls here right now, 604-669-3733, 1-800-825-5950. Stephanie's on the line in North Vancouver. Hi, Stephanie. Welcome.
Hi there. Thank you for having me.
Yes. And what impact will this have on you?
So I have two young children, 4 and 6. Both are diagnosed with autism, amongst other things.
Mm-hmm.
And they are staring down losing all of their funding access. They will not qualify based on this criteria currently released for the new disability support. And because of our income, we will also not qualify for the supplement. There are so many gaps in this plan. We don't know who will be assessing our children, who will be examining the years-old reports and deciding whether or not they should qualify. And unfortunately, the load of all of that advocacy is falling once again, as always, on primarily mothers who spend their whole lives fighting for their kids who need support. The government is promising a transition to community services.
Right.
However, they're saying that's all going to happen a year from now. We have 15,000 kids who are about to see supports eliminated or funding dramatically reduced. We already have wait lists for public services that my children are sitting on. Where are these 15,000 children going to go? 1 year simply is not a long enough runway for this transition to happen. They're promising child development centers will deliver services. We don't have one in my community, but what we do currently have is an OT, an SLP, and behavior support that works incredibly well for both of my sons, who thanks to that support are functioning and thriving. And all of that we are about to lose. And the final point I just want to say is, you won't talk to a single parent of a child with autism who is unhappy that other children are finally receiving support. This is long, long overdue. We are thrilled for those families. However, the government promises this as a new investment of $475 million. The reality is our kids' funding is being cut. They are not talking about that. We're not talking about these 15,000 children who really need support. We're talking about kids who are at very high risk for mental health concerns. We're talking about children who can't even survive a full school day. We're talking about single moms who are supporting children with additional needs that are losing all of their financial support. I don't think that story is being told clearly by government, and I simply don't think that's fair. I'm thrilled for these other families, and to be honest, any of the dialogue that I've seen, I've actually seen some leading comments from government suggesting that, well, you should be happy for these other families. Why aren't you happy for them? We're thrilled. All children deserve support. And this idea that, levels of autism is a far outdated idea. We can't even assess intellectual disability for children under 6. Many children were assessed for autism under the age of 6. Who is making these decisions? The government simply hasn't told us who's going to look at each child and really assess whether or not they deserve support. So it's a frustrating situation to be in when you're seeing your children receiving the support that they need, and you're seeing those amazing changes and outcomes for them, and then it's pulled out from under you.
Wow.
So that's my comment today.
Stephanie, I can certainly hear the emotion behind that, your comments today. Really appreciate hearing from you. Thank you so much for the call. That's Stephanie joining us from North Vancouver. And our next caller now on this is Sarah, who's joining us from Burnaby. Hi, Sarah. Welcome to you.
Hi. I probably just want to echo Stephanie's comments. I just want to start off saying I think it's great that the government is expanding the program. $475 million is a great investment. I think all children deserve disabled children deserve support, and absolutely wasn't fair that only autistic families were receiving funding. That being said, I have 2 autistic children who are benefiting from the existing funding. $6K each is not a ton of money, but it actually makes a huge difference in their ability to function. And my husband and I are both taxpayers. We both work. We're fortunate that we're still together when we both work, and we pay taxes. In fact, I guess our taxes are being increased because of this new budget that came out, and we're going to receive absolutely nothing going forward except these community supports where there's been no real information put out about what these are going to look like, who is going to staff them. I have seen some information about, fast tracking graduates of like OTs and SLPs and using them in these community supports. And I'll have to say that my son, even before he was diagnosed as autistic, and I was paying out of pocket, and we used that model, and no fault of the SLP student, but she wasn't really equipped to deal with an autistic child. So, my kids now receive really specialized support that, I've had to wait list for years. And finally, I just got to a point where they have therapists that really support them and actually are making a difference. And now we're under threat of losing all of that. And I also just want to address this commentary or this, that the funding is not being shifted from one group to another. My understanding is that the whole program is $764 million. $289 million is coming from the autism program enrolled into this new funding model, and that the 475 is new money. That's great. But, to say that, 20% of these autistic kids who are receiving funding are now no longer going to receive anything, I don't understand how that is not a shift of that money to another disability group. And I think the other disability groups definitely should get funding. It's really upsetting to have those other groups get upset at autistic parents. No one would, we didn't control who got funding before. It wasn't, we're all like deep into just supporting our children. We didn't even know that a lot of disability groups weren't receiving funding. So it's just really frustrating that it's being spun that, okay, there's new money, and then money is not being taken from autistic children.
Sarah, I do have to thank you very, very much for your call. And that theme has been running throughout that, that all the children, regardless of disability, need that funding. You're echoing that as well. Thank you very much. Georgie writes, treat disability throughout the lifespan, not just children, not just adults, with life transition support. Thank you very much for your email. That's it for our show. Thank you for joining us.